Angela Yee, your host of a new show by Acorns, where we talk about untold money stories from some of the most inspiring people in the world. What's up? It's Angela Yee, and once again, I am here with Acorns, and we are having these conversations to normalize discussions about money with inspiring people who will talk about their financial journeys. And today, I'm super excited to be joined by my friend, Nick Cannon.
Queen, what's poppin'? Good to see you. I'm happy that you came to Harlem to come talk about money. We're in a community where there's a lot of money being generated, and those conversations really need to be had. So.
And you got in a nice, rich outfit.
Is it? I guess so. See, that's what I need to talk about. I need to be a little less gaudy and more focused on putting into the community.
All right, Nick. Well, let's start at the beginning of your financial journey. Young Nick, as a kid, what were some things you learned early on in your home about money?
How to be broke. We was broke. But you know what? My parents had me when they were teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember my mom having 2 or 3 jobs at a time, literally, and everything from Section 8 to projects, government assistance. That's how we came up. I mean, I grew up with my parents. So my father's mother was a matriarch to my mother, to my dad, who just came from the streets, getting incarcerated, changed his life, moved away. While I was still stay in California, he moved away to get out of the madness, to literally save his life so he could go and become a minister in North Carolina.
Wow.
So I was passed around a lot, and we weren't financially well off at all. But it was the hustle mentality. My dad was a hustler, you know what I mean? Like, my mother she liked the street life. So the dude she messed with, I grew up, my stepfather was, one of the biggest drug dealers in our neighborhood. So I grew up that 80s life, you know what I mean? Where I saw the crack epidemic firsthand. I saw how it financially fed my household.
Right.
But then at the same time, when I would go live with my dad, I saw, I was going to say the faith-based hustle, but the faith-based process of business could financially support a family.
That is some balance.
Right?
For you.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy? I think when I was younger, I didn't know we didn't have money.
Right.
You don't even realize it. It's just what it is.
I thought we was hood rich.
Right.
Like we had a Nissan Sentra with some rims on it. You know what I mean? Like my stepdad had the fresh Cadillac with Dayton's, and then eventually, my mom came into some bread and probably 88, 89, had the fresh BMW 325. I didn't know we were still living in the project. We were still living.
Balling.
Yeah. We had the big screen. You know what I mean? Like when the TVs used to sit on the ground and stuff. So we were literally, I remember my stepdad would buy me truck jewelry, and I had Gazelles and Jordans. I remember he bought me, the first CD player boombox. So I thought we was rich, but when it came to getting we also experienced those things like the lights being cut off, and not having the money to do the school trips and all of that type of stuff. So, and then interestingly enough, as I started to make it on my own, and it was just me and my mom, we went through some hardships where my mom lost the crib, and I started having to pay the rent in high school.
Did she explain to you what was happening financially, or was this just things that happened and you witnessed it?
The crazy thing is I just watched my mom hustle. You know what I mean? I watched her provide for me and her. It was hard, because she put herself through accounting school.
So she went to accounting school.
Yeah.
So did she have conversations? Because I know my parents never talked to me about money. I just used to hear them argue about it.
Well, it's funny. Me and my mom didn't really start having conversation about money until I started making money. But she was an accountant. Right. She was a bookkeeper, and becoming a CPA. And I was like, it was hard times where I was, her and I were paying the rent. She lost her job. I was paying the rent. And I'm still in high school, at 17. And then, by the time 17, 18, I started making a bag.
So you were acting at that time, or
stand up?
Stand up. Okay.
Stand up, yeah, stand up and really try, music business. Like the music business was our hustle. We was making money out the trunk of our car, like learning from the Master P's and the E40s and stuff like that. So we kind of had the city on smash. And then I started going from San Diego, California up to LA. And then that's when the real entertainment business popped off. And, I got the deal with Will Smith and all of that. And that was a couple $100,000. So
that was amazing.
Yeah. So I got my mom a condo out of that. And then I remember telling my mom we was dead broke before that happened. I feel like I was like 16 and I was like, Mom, you just pray with me. We dedicate, go to church, and I guarantee you give me a year and we'll get out of this situation. Because she wanted me to go get more. I was working at Wiener Schnitzel. I was working
Never hungry.
Right. I was working at a a mechanic shop doing brakes and oil changes. And I would use, that dude started, helping me get up to LA. So he would drive me up to LA and all of that stuff.
So he believed in you.
Yeah, it was love. It was love. He actually looked out. He was a dude that had some paper in it, and then he owned a, mechanic shop. So he taught me how to work on cars, and in exchange, he would manage me and take me up to LA, and that's when it popped off for me.
That is absolutely amazing that things started for you like that. How did they keep you off the streets?
That's the crazy thing. Like, literally, entertainment got me out of gangbanging, got me out of selling drugs. I dabbled in all of that stuff, but I was like, come on, man, you've
been like way too nice.
Yeah. Like, I was birthed into the drug dealer. If you think about it, drug dealers are some of the nicest, most charismatic people because, and they're never really the tough guys. It's the people around them that protect the drug dealers. So I was groomed to be that and saw the inner workings of that. I just knew when people started, dying around me and stuff like that, I was like, I literally had to escape, and go to LA where it was safer for me.
What sparked stand-up for you?
Interestingly enough, my dad, he was a preacher, and he always thought I was funny. And he would never let me watch. I never could watch Martin. I never could watch Arsenio Hall, but I loved it. So I would hear about it at school. And I was like the little church boy under my dad's school when I stayed with him. And he was like, look, I'm not going to let you watch that stuff, but you can make that stuff. And because he had a public access ministry, he had cameras and all, and we had to go through like workshops to be able to check out the equipment. So he would make me go through these like cable vision, like workshops for the weekend. I hated that shit. Like, I'd have to sit there and learn how to do lighting and audio and cameras. And
came in handy.
Yeah, right. And it's like 11, 12 years old. And then in exchange for working on his ministry show, he would give me free time and I would be able to use the cameras. And he was like, yo, you think you funny and you do all those little in living color and Arsenio Hall bits, do them in front of the camera. And I literally would do that. And then from there, when he would go preach and stuff like that, he put me on the spot and let me open up for him.
He really put that entrepreneur spirit in you.
Yeah, my pops was a hustler. My pop's still a hustler. But he was hustling for the Lord. So it was always dope, but it was difficult because I wanted to be a rapper. And he was like, yo, every kid in this neighborhood wants to be a rapper, do something different, be a comedian. And that's what it happened.
So your first big check was the $200,000 check?
Yeah,
when you bought your mom a condo?
Yeah. And it's funny because Will gave it to me. And I thought it was $200,000 when obviously quickly it became $40,000. But I was...
But talk about that, because how does a $200,000 check break down? People think, okay, he made $200,000, but
at 18 too, because Will found me at like 17, and by the time I was 18, the check came in. And at the time, I remember Will had a red Range Rover, and I was like, I want a black one. And he's the biggest movie star in the world. This is literally 98, 99. And it was 98, end of 98. And he was like, don't buy it. And I was like, yo, you just gave me $200,000. Like, and at the time, I think Range Rovers was like 60 bands back then. So I was like, I'm getting this. Like, and I'll be hanging around Kenan and Kel and Ray J and all of them. Like, like Brandy had the Lexus Land Cruiser, and Kenan had the 4Runner, Kel had the Expedition. I was like, I'm getting a Range Rover, the most expensive one, just the stunt. And Will was like, don't do it. And literally that was probably my whole check not even a year, I totaled that car and lost it and was living back.
So
in
you
my
did
mom's
do
house.
it.
I did it and was living back in my mom. And like me and my mom was living in that condo back in San Diego a year later, thinking where I thought I had made it and was rich and was gonna be set for life. So, like, because Will Smith often tells his story about how he went broke after parents just don't understand,
Mhm.
and he literally would tell me that story.
Right.
He was like,
And you're like, I still want
yeah,
it.
he was like, I made $1 million, won a Grammy, and I was broke. Before this Fresh Prince, don't like save this money. And I was like, all right, I'm good. Like,
you.
he just gave me a whole television deal. This is the first 200,000. This is gonna keep coming. And like you said, it breaks down. Instantly, the government gets half of that.
Right. Taxes.
And
boy.
then what you don't realize is representation. I was new to it,
Mhm.
and even still to this day, like your representation is gonna be probably at least 30%
You got
when it comes to managers,
you got an agent,
lawyers,
yeah,
and
accountants, everything.
That was my first time getting an accountant. My first accountant kind of did me a little shady because I
Right.
didn't know no better. And I wouldn't even say they did me shady. I just didn't know no
You
better.
didn't know.
Yeah, and they was doing what they do and not telling me I'm, buying Range Rovers at 18 years old. And that's what I wanted. So, that, like I said, that.
But you did buy a condo. That was it. So
I rented a condo.
Oh, I thought you bought it. Okay.
Yeah, I rented my mom's condo. I wish I would have bought it. I wish instead of buying that Range Rover, I would have just bought my mom's condo.
Mm-hmm. But that was a good, valuable lesson early on.
100%.
So then after that, how did things change for you? Did you really learn your lesson from
So I went broke, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Under Will Smith's tutelage, he told me.
Right.
But he literally said, I told you.
But you at least were still bringing in money.
Kind of. So what happened was, because the way I went broke is because Will gave me a deal. Not only he signed me to his label, but he gave me my first television deal, which was a 6-episode commitment to have my own TV show. But the show didn't get picked up. So that 200,000, that 200,000 was a holding deal. So that was like, oh, you got more coming. So that broke my heart. And I'm 19 years old.
Right.
But at least I still had the Nickelodeon and that hustle mindset. So I took all of that energy and went back to Nickelodeon like, yo, Will Smith is rocking with me. Y'all gotta rock with me. So that's when I got to my pen and I started writing more for Nickelodeon shows, and I ended up writing my own show. So my next deal was probably for like $500,000. And I played that smart.
Okay.
And then by then I went and I bought myself a house. Then my next check, I believe it was the Drumline check, I bought my mom a house.
I know that was a nice check.
Yeah. You know what? It wasn't. Love Don't Cost a Thing was a nice check. Drumline was because that was my first.
Okay,
I had a small role in Men in Black 2, which I don't even think I got paid for that. So I think I'm gonna be honest, for Drumline, my first check was probably like $50,000.
But that was a big look.
I was a star of a movie.
Right. That was a big look. And sometimes the biggest things that you'll do at that time aren't going to come with the biggest check. Because you got $200,000 for a show that didn't even get picked up.
Yeah.
But then you get $50,000 for
a movie that's a classic movie. And now, that from that point on, I was making millions after that.
Jeez, so Drumline is really what set it off for you, you would say?
Yeah, financially. That got me in a place where, but I was still immature with money. And I think it's because we're not taught financial literacy.
Right. I definitely wasn't growing up.
And I'm going to be honest with you, right? I'm still learning.
Listen, as you should be, because things are constantly changing too.
And then even the thing that really I feel as a father, you know what I mean? And obviously everybody know I got a gang of kids. But in that sense, it's like that in itself is providing for households. There's a different mindset that I just recently picked up, because everybody's using this term generational wealth.
Right.
And it's like, do we really know what that means? Or is that just something to aspire to with not knowing the means of how to get to it? And because generational wealth, the reason why we strive for it so much is because we've had generational trauma. So how can at the same time you seek something where we haven't dealt with the trauma? Part of that trauma is the financial insecurity and immaturity that comes with it, because we're so focused on getting money.
Right.
We just want to get money.
And we're also sometimes scared to lose it. And so we won't take certain risks that could actually benefit us. And sometimes, I know for myself, I think long-term now, but that was hard for me.
Yeah. And the same thing, like you said, when we first put up, we too busy. We want to look rich instead of being rich.
Right.
And it's in us.
Because you feel like, oh, I got 50,000, but I could spend 20,000.
Right. Because we just want to. There's so many things. One, it goes all the way back to the culture, to the roots, to So we come from a
You
rich
wouldn't look the
people.
part.
Africa is the most mineral rich continent in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to show off.
Yes.
And then imagine you being robbed of all your riches and then left with nothing and told to survive and not even being treated like humans and actually being property. You are actually the currency of your DNA. So you're trying to prove, hey, I'm human. I'm not just property. I'm not. And then from that, you're fighting for your rights. You're not even fighting for to make money. You're fighting to be able to not be money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And and the other thing is that there's so many times when we didn't have anything and then we built it up and became rich
the Reconstruction
again.
area.
And then, they wipe us all out again.
Right.
And
From Black Wall Street to all of those things to where, there was in North Carolina, we were the Congress, literally, and it was snatched and burned away from us. So when you think that, then we get to that space, and it's specifically even Black men, because when you come from that at the time, the workforce of you wanted to show your value. And so you were your value even then in that sense. So then you wanted to put on to show your value. So you wanted to look fly. You had to look fly to stand next to the white man. You had to make sure your hair was together. You had to make sure you looked the part because you wanted to be an equal. You wanted to show that I'm just as valuable as this person is next to me. So all of that is the trauma. So we got to deal with that before we can actually even be educated in how money actually works. And then, I'll talk about it all the time. America's money is all it is. It's not, money's not real.
Yeah.
It's debt.
Yeah.
This whole world operates off of debt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big IOU system. And it's the people at the top of the IOU system, the insurance companies, the loan companies, and all of that stuff, the banks, obviously, who dictate what the class system is going to be. And you always got to have a lower class in order for those people to be financially secure.
And you know what else, too, I realized? And I realized this when I went to private school. Some of the people who have the most money don't look like it, right?
Facts.
It's always the people that don't have a lot that look like they do, and the people who have a lot don't care.
So if we're going back to lessons learned, and I hate that because I'm still sitting here with this expensive ass watch on, but literally I got rid of all of my jewelry. But when I started making money and I was rap videos and all of that, I was spending millions of dollars. And it was just stupid. You know what I mean? Because all of those could have been investments.
Right. But some people might look at it as watches can be investments because you see the value of some of them increasing. Because I know some people do, depending on what you buy.
I used to run that rap. I'm going to keep it a stack. Like this watch right here.
It's a little iced out to be.
It's not an investment. The diamonds
take away
ruined it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like this could have just been a collector's piece, but the billionaire man who would pay for it, he don't want diamonds on his. He just wants the plain Jane joint. So those are the ones that I appreciate. So a lot of times when you bust it down, it loses its value.
You know what I realized too? When I have a goal that I'm working toward financially, some things don't matter to me. And so if I know I'm trying to get money to buy this house, to put this down payment on this house, or to do something else, I'm fine with sacrificing everything else. And I think it's a good practice for me too. Yeah. To just say, okay, I have a goal to achieve. I want to get X amount of dollars so that I can put this down. And then I make it happen and it feels really good. And I don't mind what I'm missing out on.
So this is my thing with that. And that's a brilliant mindset to have because I'm going to tell you what I still struggle with and what we all still struggle with. And going back to that generational wealth conversation, is people like us who work a lot, who hustle, who have the privilege and the blessing to be in a space where money is generated, we always know another check is coming. Mm-hmm. And we're always thinking, ooh, if I do this year and this year and set my goals and I'm living my life, I can get this, I can get that. But that's not generational wealth.
Right.
That's cash flow. You know what I mean? Andre 3000 said it the best. You know, you only funky as your last cut. You know, if you don't move your feet, then I don't eat. So we like neck to neck, still living check to check. So in that same vibe, entertainers and people of this generation now, because we got influencers that get stupid bags. We got Instagram, OnlyFans, people pulling in hundreds of thousands of dollars.
What are you doing with it?
But what do? You live in check to check. You banking on that next check. And that's just cash flow. We've been cash flow rich. We haven't established wealth yet to where when we go to sleep, We making money.
Our money is making money.
Our children's children are making money off of the things that we do today.
Diversity too matters, like as far as having money in different things, right? Because I have properties that generate money for me every single month because they're my rental properties and
Smart.
they're luxury properties. And I'm always looking at what is my next investment about to be.
Smart.
But at the same time, I also have my long-term investments. So I know that's put away. That's good for the future.
I wish I would have thought about that early on. And even now, you know what I mean? Because I've lost a lot of money in real estate.
Mm.
I've lost a lot of money in investment.
And I tell people real estate is not a for sure thing too. As much as people try to act like that, it can be great. And I've made some, fortunately for me, like all of my real estate investments have done well so far.
Well, lucky you, Angela.
But I don't do a lot. Like I've done.
I've lost a year called 2008 that tanked all mine. And that's just because like because my investments in, I was buying family members' homes,
right,
and helping people, and they were sound investments. You know what I mean? Hey, let me put you in a house. Let me get you this. But then when you pay X amount of dollars for the house, and then the market crashes,
right,
what you pay for the house, now you're in the red. You're like, wow, these houses that I thought were appreciating are now dead.
Yeah, and some with investments, a lot of times you don't see a return on that
for years.
If you do, if you're lucky enough to see a return, it takes a while, and you have to be patient.
Mm-hmm. It's cash flow. You like, man, when I'm gonna get the money that I invested, when I'm gonna get that back, opposed to like, and that's why I'm saying in my investment conversation, it's all about IP, intellectual property, and ownership and investing in yourself.
Right, that's important.
To me, that's where I've made the bulk of my money.
What has been your best investment?
Wilding out.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Like, that was something no one believed in early on when I was getting to the bag a little bit, early 2000s. And I said, I'm going to pay for it myself. And, I got everybody together, Kevin Hart, all the comedians, all my friends, all the rappers. And I rented out a comedy club, got some cameras from the tutelage that I knew. And shot it on my own, put together a presentation pilot. And from that gave me the opportunity to negotiate properly when I went to MTV and said, look, I own this. This is mine. Let's make the best deal. And we made a great deal. And I kept ownership, all the way to this day.
See, now I want to ask you about that because I remember there was a period of time when they said they were going to do it without you. How would that be possible?
That's where it would have got murky. I mean, again, not to speak too much about the business side of it, but you can't really, there's many reasons why you can't do it without me, but there were a lot of business things. And that's where, I started getting bullish and talking about, I built this $1 billion brand.
Yes.
Y'all got to pay me if y'all going to go on with it. And then I was like, let me just get quiet. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I got a lot of advice. Like, I don't got to be out there barking and stuff. It's like.
Now, let me ask you this. Did your mindset change when you had children when it came to finances? What does that click in you?
You learn a lot more. You know what I mean? You start having to create trust and build accounts. And that's when you really start to think about generational wealth. When I'm no longer here, who's going to take care of my children? How will they be taken care of? Will they be set? Are they educated enough to be put in a scenario where they'll be responsible and financially secure, mentally, spiritually, and physically to handle whatever it is that we're building? Because we're taking this, you don't have to think about it, you're taking money is a burden. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you're putting it on to your offspring, to your children.
Although not having money is probably, you think, a bigger burden?
I hate this conversation only because I truly believe there's this thing called access to excess. Mm-hmm. And because I'm a true believer in energy, if you mismanage an abundance, you fall in an abundant way. So I've been broke, and not being able to pay some bills and hardships that's tough. But I've also been broke where you're responsible for 6-7 mortgages, and you're responsible for things that, like, there's no way to climb out of this hole. You know what I mean? You could be broke I've been broke in an apartment, and then I get another job, or I go hustle and get another second, third job, and now I can pay my rent.
Right.
When you're in debt $4 or $5 million, where you gonna get that other $4 or $5 million from? You know what I mean? And that's where I've seen a lot of my peers go down hard, fast, and puts them in a dark depression. It puts them in a space where there is no coming out. Granted, you just want stability.
Mhm.
That's what we're all looking for. We're looking for stability and balance, and then ultimately to be able to be content. That word is a strange word because
You never want to feel content, right?
right, but that's the thing. But contentment is also like when it takes it back to that space of monks. Monks are content because they want for nothing.
They live in
They
the
don't-
moment.
They don't desire abundance. They're just they find happiness within. So that's what I'm in that space now to where that minimalist idea. And that's even what Kanye talks about
Mhm.
sometimes, where it's like the less is more thing. But I mean, he's
But
also
then he
coming
goes
from,
the other way.
yeah,
and he's-
yeah. But and I understand the struggle because you realize when you have children, you want to teach your children the value of like money isn't everything.
Mhm.
You know, but then they say, yeah, that's easy to say when you got money.
But
Yeah.
for your kids who are old enough, what do you teach them about money? Like, how
It's
do you
so
handle
difficult. I mean, one, it starts with math, which, you know, is amazing. So I remember I teach all of my kids, you know, I just start with dollars and cents, piggy banks, all of that stuff.
that? Like, if they want something, are you like, okay, this costs, like, how do you handle
I make them do the math.
Mhm.
Simple as that. When they want something off of Amazon, you know, you create an allowance. You like, all right, well, you got to do this whole math. You want how many Roblox or V-Bucks and all right, how does that translate into dollars? Okay, you spent this week. Why now break that down of how, and the fact that they have to go through that process. That's how you teach them the value of money. Because otherwise, it is like, oh, I just want this and I can
You
get
can
it.
get anything.
Yeah, but I remember what I used to do when Toys R Us was on every corner. Shouts out, that's one of my investments right now.
Oh, bringing Toys R Us back.
All day. But and we're bringing it back in a big way. But I remember I used to take Rock and Roll, my oldest, to Toys R Us, and I would give them each $100. And I would say, all right, go in there and get whatever you want. Now, you guys can combine your $100 because there's two of you. You can get one thing, or you can, you know, and it's funny because, like, my son would always go to the biggest thing in the store and be like, all right, Dad, I want this $100 and I need you to cover the difference. Like, it don't work like that. But my daughter would take her $100 and go buy a bunch of small little things and have a whole shopping cart full of just little trinkets for her $100. And I was like, wow, this is crazy.
They're like opposites on how they spend their money.
Yeah, so, but it's like now I know where I need to work with Rock a little bit more, and I can see where I need to work with Monroe. So it's like, all right, well, we'll figure it out. But it all starts with math.
And even like being married, how do finances work for you when it comes to being married?
That's one. We're not gonna get to this monogamy conversation.
No. I'm just talking about.
No. But I'm just saying. But it leaked because I don't want to sound. Because I know how
we don't want to keep on talking.
Yeah, I know how people think of when I approach this process. But when I say this, marriage is a business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I learned. And I learned, like, there's contracts involved.
There's definitely contracts.
There's, and it could be a great business. It could be a great investment.
There's definitely breaks in your taxes.
Yeah, marriage can be a very lucrative business if you do it properly.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I learned. It's like, it has nothing to do with actual love. You know what I mean? It could be an example of love. It could be some things, but you literally are walking into, you like, okay, we're bonding ourselves together financially to where we're taking our names together. We're taking our properties together. And then there's lawyers that are going to be involved to say, well, you should, just in case this, you should. Like, it's literally a negotiation table. And when you go back to the court, and that's why I said I've gotten in trouble talking about this before when I'm always in defense of a non-monogamous scenario. I always talk about the root of marriage never started with love. It was a business transaction.
Well, you could be monogamous and not be married too. So
True.
It doesn't really have to.
So that's why we only have to talk about that.
Right. So, you want a monogamy. I didn't.
No, but I'm just saying in that sense because that's a lot of the reasons, because it's a covenant. It's a great example to say, look, I love this person so much that I'm willing to become one with this person. But when you're becoming one corporation. People already look at me at a certain way. From the day I meet them, They have a perception of who I am, how much money I probably have, and what I can do for them. So I don't get that beautiful journey of, ooh, let's build this together.
Unless it was somebody who was equal to you financially.
Well, Mariah was beyond fine. She had more money than me. And that was inspiring. You know what I mean? That that ignited the hustle even more. And I'm grateful to her for that. Like that turned me up in that sense of like, oh, I can go get it because I'll aspire to be just as powerful as she is.
Right.
So
well, you can go back to the bottom again.
I hope no. Let's not do that.
Now, let me ask you this. What are some things you wish you were better at financially?
Saying no.
No is a powerful word.
Yeah. It's probably the most powerful word. It actually probably make you richer than anything. I don't even know how to say no to myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if I want something, I go get it. The discipline in saying no. I wish I would have learned that early on.
How important is it for you to support certain businesses? Because you going somewhere or you tweeting about something brings so much attention.
Anytime for the culture. That's why we right here in Harlem right now. You know what I mean? I said I wanted to do my talk show in Harlem. I'm investing in properties in Harlem. I'm bringing my restaurants and my community centers to Harlem, to Southeast San Diego, South Central Los Angeles, to Atlanta, to Detroit, like all of these places that I truly feel like the culture is and the community is. And if I could lend my influence and my energy to those spaces, then, again, we can build us up the way that we were doing during Reconstruction.
Well, listen, I know, Nick, that you are such a busy person. And so I do appreciate you because I feel like I learned a lot about you and your whole mindset just from having this conversation. And the last thing I need to do is this rapid fire. So if you have a little time for this.
I got it. Put me in the hot seat and I got you.
All right, Nick. So this has been great.
Thank you.
This is our rapid fire of money questions.
I get nervous with you because
no, you don't.
You ask them hard hitting questions.
No, this is just about money.
Okay.
You're not in the rumors today.
All right, cool. Let's get it.
I'll do that on your show.
Right.
What was the first concert you ever bought tickets for?
MC Hammer.
Ooh.
It's crazy. And that Dr. Dre walked past me. He got out of a cab, and I forgot who was performing, but the fact that I was standing in line for an MC Hammer concert and I saw Dr. Dre walk past me, it was like 1990 maybe. Crazy.
All right. Is there an artist that you would collaborate with for free?
Stevie Wonder.
Ooh. That's
I would pay.
Yeah,
I would pay money.
I would invest in that.
Yeah.
What did you spend your first big check on?
My mom's crib.
What did you spend your last big check on?
See, I don't know. I don't live check to check no more, so I don't know.
So many of them.
Yeah, I don't think.
But what's your last big purchase?
Something probably for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a home. Yeah, a home for my children to live in.
All right. What's the best money move you ever made?
Wilding out.
What is the greatest money lesson you've learned?
How to say no.
What is the worst money advice you've received?
Spend it. Spend it as soon as you get it. Blow the bag.
Man, I spend it. All right. What is a money mistake you learned the hard way?
The trinkets, the depreciating things. You know what I mean? Jewelry, cars, none of that stuff has real value.
And then you sit at home like, why did I buy this? And you look at it like, ugh.
And it becomes a liability. Like I had so many cars at one point in time that my car bill was hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not like I own the cars, but what the upkeep.
All right. When do you feel empowered by money?
When I can give it to my loved ones.
What is your favorite thing to spend money on?
My loved ones, my family.
I'm going to say that. What is
also the empowered one? I always say more than my loved ones. I also can when I can put it into my community.
Right. And you can see the difference that it makes.
Indeed.
What is your least favorite thing to spend money on?
Depreciating assets.
It feels good at the time until that's in retrospect.
Yeah.
You wouldn't buy it if you thought like that. What would be your money advice to 20-year-old Nick?
Yeah, invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Continue to, allow your money to make you money and intellectual properties. Keep creating.
And last but not least, what is your best money advice to someone else who's on their come up?
Energy is currency. Manage your energy. Invest in your energy. When you can have that concept that the physical money is not real, but the idea of where you put your efforts and your time, that's what real money is. And it's also, I think, one of my mentors said it best. Money don't make you happy. Happy makes you money.
Okay. All right. I like to spend money to get happier. But not when I'm sad, but yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, think about it. Imagine if you were able to take care of your family by the things that make you the happiest.
That is actually what makes me happy, when I can do something great for my parents.
Right?
Or for my brother, when they ask me for something, or they don't even
But if it's your skill set or your talent that made you that money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the thing that you love the most, whether it's, journalism, entertaining, being like, that's the beauty, that's the blessing that we have, is that, I didn't have a bunch of them, but I had those jobs that I hated going to, that I had to get up hella early in the morning, take 3 buses to get to, or being there with hot dog grease, or, changing. Oh, I hate this.
What was the place you worked at?
Wiener Schnitzel.
Wiener Schnitzel.
but even like, I was door-to-door candy, so like things that I hated doing. And then when I got to my gifts and what God has blessed me with, allow me to provide for my family, it's the greatest blessing in the world.
I had those jobs. Every morning I woke up like, should I call out today?
Right.
Every morning I lay in bed like, is today the day that I'm going to call out? Let me just go get it over with.
Yeah, and that's why I would say, find something that you love and you'll never work a day in your life. We don't have to, just think about that existence. Live your life doing something more than just paying bills. And wherever you can do it, you know what I mean? And again, that's where I go back to energy. If it's feeding into your community, if it's feeding into your family, find something that makes you truly happy.
Well, thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate you for doing this and having this conversation about finance.
All day.
After this, back to our regularly scheduled.
I know, right? That gossip is coming. Rumors are coming.
Nick Cannon, thank you so much.
No doubt.
I'm Angela Yee, and thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit me up on Twitter, on Instagram @Acorns, and let me know who you'd like me to talk to next about one of my favorite topics, money. All right, now let's get to the business. Listen up. These conversations do not reflect the views of Acorns. The material is only informational. It's not investment advice. It's not a recommendation, an offer, or sale of securities. Remember that investing involves risk, which includes the loss of principal. We always tell you that. Investment advisory services offered by Acorns Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Brokerage services are provided to clients of Acorns by Acorns Securities, LLC, an SEC-registered broker-dealer and member at FINRA SIPC. For more information, visit acorns.com.